It was a pretty chilly day out there. Temperatures struggling to get to 50 degrees, but it didn't really feel like that anyway because of the wind that we talked about last day. We did get to 49 at TF Green, so right on the doorstep at 50 degrees. These temperatures are going to be pretty similar tomorrow, and the wind will be lighter, so I guarantee we'll feel a little bit better tomorrow. But really can't argue too much out there. Again, average high this time of year is in the low to mid 50s, give or take, a degree here or there. So fairly seasonable all in all. But a gradual warming trend again. Tomorrow's about the same, maybe a degree or two warmer, but the wind being less will make it feel warmer. The big jumps that we take will be more so Thursday into Friday, where we'll be around 60 degrees. That's certainly going to be very nice, considering it'll also be very dry and sunny Thursday and Friday as well. Maybe Friday not so much in the sunny department. We're going to have more clouds moving in, especially the second half of Friday. That sets the stage for a potentially stormy start to our weekend. Rainy, maybe some gusty winds on Friday, especially in the morning and early afternoon as we watch a nearby coastal storm that's going to brush up the coast. We'll talk a little bit more in detail about that in a second, but it clears out for Sunday and then it starts to turn colder again behind that system. So quiet afternoon out there. It looks like a little maybe lake-assisted flurries or sprinkles here across upstate New York. That north wind kind of blowing. I don't think it's too much of a lake effect actually after all. It just may still be a little bit of instability, but high pressure is building in and that wind is going to begin to diminish as the low offshore continues to slide away. Speaking of low pressure now, this is really the most significant weather system that's going on in the lower 48 right now. And this low, which was originally over here, has just sort of been meandering along the Gulf Coast over the last few days. Now, this is good news and bad news. The good news is that a lot of this area has been very drought-stricken over the past few months. They needed this rain. Of course, you never liked to have it all come back at once, but they needed something, and they certainly got that. Now the low is beginning to slide eastward here. It's more so over the panhandle of Florida into the, the Alabama, Mississippi area right about here. And now that rain is starting to work into Florida and the Sunshine State, not so sunny this afternoon. Now, what's the bad news? Of course, left you hanging on that. Well, the bad news is that this eventually is going to transfer energy to the coast. So let's jump ahead to Friday here. We know it's going to be fine weather the next few days. So here's the low, and it looks a little bit more robust. Typically, when these lows tend to transfer and right up the coastline, they tend to wrap up a little bit more tightly. Now, this has the makings of a nor'easter. Now, I know nor'easter is a scary word. There are varying degrees of nor'easters. This one looks like it's going to be a little bit stronger as it moves up the coast. It's going to be a very fast mover, and the reason for that is we have a cold front coming in here at the same time that sort of scoops it up, and the cold front's pretty fast moving, so naturally as it scoops up the low, that's going to be a little bit quicker moving as well. The good news there, you never like to have a coastal storm that just sits and churns offshore, especially because likely at some point it's going to also come in play with your high tide times, and that could cause the risk of coastal flooding. But the fact that it's moving fast, and it's not moving fast slamming into the shoreline, it's moving fast away and just brushing us, I think that's good news. And likely, even if we saw any coastal flooding and say it was coming in with a new moon or a full moon and it was a high tide, it would likely only be brief and on the minor side. So that's factor number one. But again, looks like a nice little soaking here as this front comes through and then kicks it all out of here. And then again, that's what clears us out for Sunday. But it's certainly not a great start to the weekend. But again, it also signals the arrival of that colder air as it passes through. 49 on Sunday, 42 on Monday, and 45 on Tuesday. And you see the overnight lows in pink, Alyssa. That indicates that we're waking up to sub-freezing temperatures both of those mornings. So another, kind of like what we had this week, another cold start to the week next week. But we got a while to go before we get there. Of course, we'll enjoy this warmer air first.